Hey everybody, welcome to Our Culture Gaming. I'm Scott and I'm joined by Josh.
Hello, Scott.
Hello. Now everyone in the world is talking about solo, but we're going to talk about Battlefield.
Which is more important.
It is a little bit more important. Battlefield V5, whatever you want to call it, dropped the other day. Thanks to Trevor Noah, whatever he's called, hosting the reveal event. And we saw a lovely little trailer that seems to have divided the fan base.
It certainly did. It was lovely. I don't know if I'd call it that.
Maybe not. I mean, it's a weird. The first-person shooter landscape's in a weird spot at the minute. There's a whole lot of debates as to how futury something should go versus how traditional boots on the ground something should go. We've obviously seen Black Ops 4 embrace the former of the two, and Battlefield is kind of going down a strange direction of maintaining some historical accuracy in terms of we're sticking with World War II, but also bringing in more over-the-top action. We see a biplane get shot out of the sky with a grenade launcher and all that Battlefield goodness. So let's talk about the things that are new.
Exactly, because a lot of the focus has been on that trailer and the actual gameplay changes that have been made, and there is a crap load of them have been overlooked. So I might as well just jump into it because we've got loads of notes here. The first thing is, and potentially the thing that will please fans the most, is that there is no premium pass, and all the DLC will be free. And I know what you're thinking, Scott.
Go on.
Battlefront 2 did this same thing and royally messed it up.
I was thinking that The Last Jedi is still bad.
Oh, yeah, of course you were, because you can't stop thinking about
No,
this. Why does it always come back to The Last Jedi?
I don't know, but do carry on.
Yeah, so Battlefront 2 obviously made all their DLC free and completely messed it up, whereas Battlefield 1 seems to have a better plan. They're doing a thing called, let me get this right, the Tides of War, which will take us through from the beginning of World War II in the invasion of Europe, right down to like the last moments of the war, with different maps being introduced for free as the years go on, and the different map rotations. So it's almost like you're playing through the different theaters of the war. That to me sounds really great.
That sounds like a nice extension of what they had in Battlefield 1 in terms of shining a light on different, cultural approaches to the war.
Yes.
Different factions that were taking part and different ways of framing those characters. I'm game for them twinning the idea of the narrative stuff with the online stuff. It seems like that's what they're pioneering.
Definitely.
And if we're going to be entering this landscape where, again, Black Ops 4 has ditched its single player campaign, then you potentially need to explore avenues that still tick the narrative boxes whilst not going entirely in that direction.
Interesting that you mentioned single player, because they did confirm that single player is back again in the form of war stories as it was in Battlefield 1.
Oh, God.
So it'll be sort of those vignettes of different things from happening around the conflict. I thought that was all right.
On paper, it's brilliant, and I wish they'd done that with Battlefront as well. I wish they'd done that with the Star Wars characters, just dropping into different ones. I love that approach, and like I said, I like that with the online approach. It's just, I don't know, I thought some of them were too fast and threadbare, and I like the pilot one, the guy when you're in midair. Yeah. It's a good way to drop into the various facets of what makes Battlefield how you play it.
I agree.
But I want more to it if they're going to do that.
For me, there was too few of them, and like you said, there were too bare bones. The gameplay didn't change up much, and it was quite predictable. If they can make that bigger, maybe they could even release along with Tides of War multiplayer. Maybe they could release new stories, maybe one that starts I don't know, the invasion of Berlin or something like that, which would be cool. That would be interesting. So War Stories is back, but also there's a new co-op mode this time around, a separate mode that you and up to 4 friends can take on. I don't know. It's similar to the one. Did you play Battlefield 3?
So God, yes, but
that, which is all right. It's nice to have that content in there.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll make much of a difference, and people might not play it that much, but it's nice to see sort of DICE embracing this more single-player style type of content, where, like you said, Activision are moving away from it.
It's weird with Battlefield because for as much as, the two premier military shooters are Battlefield and Call of Duty, I think that the spotlight is always forever scrutinizing Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Everything that Activision do, everything that Black Ops, but everything that Call of Duty does just gets ground into the ground and go, what are you really doing with this?
Yeah.
And and I don't know, something to do with Call of Duty seems to have latched on culturally. We talk about Call of Duty more than we talk about Battlefield, I would say.
Definitely.
But that also means that they have less they have less feedback coming at them every single day. And for me, looking at the trailer for Battlefield, because I haven't gone over all these specific notes yet, hence the video. But looking at the trailer, it seems I don't know, I didn't get that much of an identity from Battlefield. It seems like they're kind of shooting in a bunch of different directions, good directions.
Yeah.
But it's just picking up on all this stuff shows that they've got more on paper.
Well, that's
than you
the
might
problem.
think.
That trailer for me wasn't great because it looked like Call of Duty World War II, and it looked really linear and kind of cinematic or whatever. Whereas a lot of the gameplay changes were in there. You wouldn't know it without having this wealth of notes that people have thankfully amassed in the days since. So there's some other changes to multiplayer. The classic sort of classes will be back, including assault, medic, support, and scout. They'll work the same way as they did in Battlefield 1.
Oh, medics.
or less. But the most interesting thing is the new game modes. Obviously, we're going to have Conquest, Domination, Team Deathmatch.
Right.
We're going to have a new Airborne mode where you spawn in as paratroopers and do
I'll take
objectives.
that.
But
I will take anything that's Medal of Honor Airborne adjacent.
Oh God, you might be that game's biggest fan, I think.
I think I might be the only fan. I love that game. It was brilliant. I love the whole idea of dropping into a map and picking your infiltration options based on where you land is entirely the appeal of Battle Royale.
That is very true.
So go back to Medal of Honor Airborne. It's awesome.
You could say the original Battle Royale game. I mean, you could say that. You'd be wrong.
You'd be
but
wrong.
You could say that.
H1Z1, but carry on.
Right, the best change to multiplayer is the new game mode, Grand Operations, which operations were included in Battlefield 1. I'm not sure if they'll be back for this one in how they were there, but this is a full-on 3 to 4 day epic game mode where you have to complete a different objective every day in a different game mode. And your character will carry through. He'll look fatigued the further he goes through this. And so will you if you're in it for 4 days. He'll look more fatigued. He'll have less ammo. Which sounds cool. It's like you compared it to, when I mentioned this to you earlier, you compared it to Strikes in Destiny, which I don't have much. I'm not really familiar with that, but does that
just in terms of the time investment?
Okay.
Like some of the in Destiny, well, people probably already know, but some of the missions that you take on in Destiny are going to take hours and hours and hours, and you have to set aside I don't know, I can't think what you called the one at the end of the last DLC, but one of them, it took 6 to 8 hours. So that's a whole day's worth of trying to get through this thing. I like the idea of, the way that they're trying to flesh out different ways of approaching online, persistent content. Like we've seen something like the Strike, so we've seen different things like dailies and different missions that we get given that refresh and things like that. I like the idea of condensing that approach. Like something like Fortnite's Battle Pass, refreshes every few days. And it's like, well, that you've got a window to play the game.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of that kind of thing. It encourages playability and getting stuck in.
Well, the way Battlefield 1 did this obviously was with the base operations, which were great. They had kind of a story behind them. They had a reason to exist, but after you played them a few times, nothing changed. They were great campaigns, but nothing really changed. Whereas with this mode, DICE has full say over what will be included, what objectives, even what vehicles are going to be used, what weapons are going to be primarily used. So that should add a variation to it that keeps you invested in the long run. It is a huge time investment, 3 to 4 days. You have to play 3 of the 4 days. You'd have to play the full thing, but you need to get in that window, which should keep you. Yeah, it's a good reason to jump back in, I think, rather than just I want a game of Conquest. It's oh God, this grand operation is happening. I can't miss it.
I like the idea of them maintaining a community by saying it's like that whole thing that we've seen some storefronts explore with free play weekends or something like that. Any sort of condensed time frame that says all in, play this thing. I like that. I think that's a natural way to evolve this kind of stuff.
Obviously, that wouldn't be good if the gameplay wasn't good, though, because there are been so huge changes to the core gameplay as we know it. Interestingly, although people seem to have wanted a slower Battlefield with Battlefield 1, they got that sped up. Battlefield 1 was one of the fastest Battlefields I've played. But obviously, DICE are going back to World War II now, and they're starting to slow down the gameplay. They're introducing this thing called attrition, where you will spawn in with less ammo than you usually would. Okay. Your health can't regen automatically all the way to 100%. You need a health pack to do that. So it seems like they're trying to slow down the gameplay rather than it be really twitchy, because obviously you need to conserve your shots, you need to pick them, which is interesting that they're doing this now rather than in Battlefield 1, because obviously that World War 1 is a notoriously slower conflict. But does that interest you? I know you sort of like that slower side.
I was going to say, I've described it to you. My ultimate idea for an old school shooter would be 2 characters, playing online, you come face to face with someone else, you have 2 bullets apiece. Yeah. And your reload time takes forever, but it's contingent on hammering the buttons to get your to load your rifle, and you're both just looking at each other going trying to get trying to pack the rifle in, which feel free to make any masturbatory comparisons if you want to. But the idea of doing that face to face, the first person who gets to manages to load their gun and get the shot off would be brilliant. And I don't know if that could sustain across an entire mode, but I like the idea of putting the emphasis on bullets and all that kind of stuff. It reminds me of One in the Chamber from Call of Duty.
Yeah, which was great. And everyone loves those frantic moments in multiplayer where, like you said, when you're low on ammo and you just frantically batter each other with sort of clubs and stuff.
Plus, there is that occasional thing that happens in Battle Royale games and any online shooter where you both come face to face with someone and you both have to reload.
Yes.
But all you're really waiting on is an animation to fill out before you can get the shot off. But if you could control the speed of the weight, I think that would be really interesting, or that'd be really fun, I think.
Well, apparently the DICE are overhauling the entire sort of animation system in this game. Everything is going to be done it's going to have real world weight, so you're no longer just running up to people and reviving them with a click of the button. You have to sort of interact with them and get on top of them and sort of bring them back to life. You don't just automatically regen from health anymore. There's an animation tied to that. Everything apparently is sort of tied to the world much more than it has been in other games, sort of to to increase that sense of immersion. You can shoot while you're doing a lot of things. There's 360-degree movement, so you can dive, you can shoot from every angle. When you're climbing up walls, you have a gun that you can go over the top and
I
stuff
smile
like
because
that.
it reminds me of Max Payne 3.
Yeah, exactly.
It's aiming behind you, trying to
Yeah.
take someone out. Okay.
Max Payne stuff that like 6 years ago, and everyone's finally catching
That was
up.
us.
So that would be cool. The final big change, I suppose, is how destruction is being handled. It's getting handled similarly to that, where everything is sort of felt in the real world. There's not just sort of set animations for, oh, I'm blowing a wall down, so that happens the same way every time. If a grenade goes in a building, it'll blow the debris out.
Right.
If it lands outside, obviously in. Everything seems to be much more kind of like tactile and immersive, which is interesting, but
Go on.
increasing on the destruction thing, you are only blowing buildings up, but you're repairing them. So you have these things called fortifications. So in certain points, probably near like objective markers, you get to build sort of like fortifications. You get to rebuild houses. You get to pick up like, I don't know, explosives, machine guns, stuff like that.
Do you know if you're only rebuilding them in the way that they were, or can you go?
No,
this?
Well, it's a bit of both. Apparently, you can rebuild old parts of old buildings, but there are also areas where there are abilities to build new things like LMGs and stuff like that.
It's Fortnite, isn't
It is a little
It's them
bit.
looking at Fortnite.
But you know what? Everyone's going to be chasing Fortnite,
Yeah.
and at least this is still kind of distinctly Battlefield. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're doubling down on squad play. They're keeping the focus on like objectives. They're not doing one versus everyone, which Call of Duty is starting to do, and Fortnite and PUBG, everything like that. PUBG.
Yes.
I don't even know. What that's
PUBG,
like.
fam.
I don't know.
But near enough. Are these all the brand new deets?
That is not even everything, but
No,
it's
it's
all
not.
we could cover in this video. Those are the most interesting ones to me. Tides of War, the free DLC, the war stories are back, the changes to multiplayer, the grand operations. Which you don't get from the trailer, unfortunately, but...
Let's have a very, very quick summary of our general impressions of Battlefield, because I came out of that trailer just kind of going like, I don't really know what this is.
Yes.
In terms of, it was quite vibrant colour palette-wise, and it didn't really seem to depict any particular conflict. Apparently it's World War II, and that's what they're advertising it as. But I didn't watch that and go like, oh, I can't wait to play it.
Yes.
It felt a little bit scattershot and a little bit aimless and a little bit lacking of identity. But the core mechanics are obviously going to be solid. I mean, they know what the hell they're doing at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was a little bit just kind of Whereas, like, at least Black Ops kind of seems to be aiming towards a very specific gameplay style. Whereas, to this, I didn't really take that much away from it.
No,
but this is reassuring. But yeah.
Obviously, there's going to be a full-on gameplay reveal at EA Play on June the 9th, I think it is.
Cool.
But yeah, like you said, the first trailer was sort of had a kind of crisis of identity of what Battlefield is and what players expect. Whereas I think these details are sort of more reassuring that it's going to be the Battlefield we mostly know and love, expanded on and made. It's kind of more immersive or whatever. It's going to be different from Battlefield 1, which I think is interesting as well, because I was worried that this was going to be more or less Battlefield 1.5, just like the World War II expansion or whatever.
Yeah. Either way, I mean, I like some of what they're doing. I think they could do with hammering home a certain identity to it. It just seems like they're sort of trying a bunch of different things in a bunch of different directions, but at least it's from one of the most talented studios on the planet.
Yeah.
For as much as EA seem to stick their oar in with DICE as a team are incredibly talented and incredibly skilled. Exactly. So that's all the stuff that's kind of worth picking apart for Battlefield 5. Obviously, there's one other massive black cloud of controversy hanging around everybody else that refers to this game, but we're not even going to go anywhere near that until there's a little bit more information about it, or we have anything more worthwhile to say. It's kind of a big miasma of bullshit, and we'd rather focus on the gameplay. So either way, you guys can let us know what you think down in the comments below. I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com.
I'll catch you soon.
Bye.
Goodbye.